podcast for another NFL jam-packed week. I'm here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Man, I'm depressed from that Bears game last night, man. Those referees just throwing it. Bears making huge plays. Fields taking big steps. He had finally thrown it down the field. They had their three best weapons going with Kmet, Robinson, and Darnell Mooney, man. Tough loss, but hey, I'll take the progress of the Bears there.
What do you think about that taunting or whatever call, man? That was crazy, man.
Absolute BS, man. NFL's they
stop him, man. They freaking got 15 yards for that.
And the ref, hip checking him there real quick. Sean and I were talking about that pre-production. Suspect. Just a brutal. I can't even get into it, man. I don't want to blame the refs for everything, but this is one game where I'll say there were many plays that could have gone vice versa if a penalty was not called for some questionable gameplay decisions by the refs, man. So nothing else to say there, but Fields, man, finally looking solid, throwing the ball down the field. So I'll take that in the long run, man.
Yeah, man. Dude, football this week, a lot of blowouts, a lot of upsets. But my fantasy teams were whooping ass this week, man. 4-0, baby. Clean sweep this
4
week,
leagues.
man.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Jeez.
man, what a week, man. And shout out to my man, James Conner, for stepping up.
Oh,
shout out to
he had
him,
a big
man.
day. Yeah, he had a huge day.
Yeah. A couple of my guys are on bye
needed.
week. James Conner comes in at the flex, comes in and saves the day, man. Shouts to James Conner.
Yeah, he performed like an RB1 with that flex spot. All the touchdowns he had. Like I said, that's another team. Arizona Cardinals I think they had Colt McCoy in. I think that game too. Actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. This is without Kyler Murray. This is without AJ Green. This is without DeAndre Hopkins. This is without Chase Edmonds, who left with an early injury. And it was just like a backup QB with James Conner took over. Man, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, James Conner definitely made the good choice of getting out of Pittsburgh because Najee's the number one guy there. But he's proven his worth in Arizona, and we're going to see how they end up shaping up in the NFC. But I wanted to first start off with all the upsets that happened this year or this week in the NFL. A lot of games that were probably double-digit point spreads and things like that, and they kind of, if you're a betting person, you probably had a really bad week in terms of betting the favorites. But I wanted to get the guys' opinions on some of the upsets that happened this week, and is that more so of just some teams having just an off week, or is that a sign of things to come in? Peebush, I'm gonna start with you, man.
Well, this was I thought a big week for the Broncos. Coming out that huge manhandling win of Dallas. I think it was a 30-16 game in the end, but it was really not that close. The Cowboys kind of got some garbage time points there at the end, which I'll take. Kept me in my fantasy game there. I know there might have been some scares at the Zoo household with his roommate there, who was my opponent. But look, man, I mean, the Broncos rely completely on their defense and their running game. I think we've known that pretty much from the start of the year, but they got their wide receivers going this game, man. I know they didn't get Cortland Sutton, but they got Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick, man, who is making a hell of catches week in and week out. I think he's a legitimate number 2 type guy on a team that they have 3 pretty legitimate wide receivers in Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. But shout out Melvin Gordon, shout out Javonte Williams. They absolutely destroyed the Cowboys' defensive front that is top 10 against the rush. And I think that was a huge surprise for some people. But look, man, Teddy Bridgewater didn't make any mistakes, threw for around 250 yards, a touchdown. But that defensive performance just completely throwing Dak off of his rhythm, man. I mean, he had less than 50% completion. That is unacceptable. Couldn't get the ball, couldn't hit his wide receivers. That was a big win for the Broncos in a division that is extremely tight. I think they're all either 5-4 or 5-3 in the AFC West. So I'm interested to see how that one pans out. I don't think the Broncos will make that much noise, but this was a statement win against a 7-1 or 6-1 team in the Cowboys. So I don't think I'm that worried about the Cowboys as it is the NFC East. But this is an idea of what can the Cowboys do going into the playoffs. Facing a good defense, facing a team that is above 500, and this is telling for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I totally agree. Like that, like the NFL is one of those sports so unpredictable, man. Like when they say like you could lose to anybody in the NFL, that's actually true. Like when they say that in basketball, absolutely. I'm like, man, stop it, man. Everybody knows who the best teams are. But when you see like the upsets, like obviously you mentioned the Dallas Cowboys, who look like the best team in football, lose to a Broncos team that dropped 30 points, whose offense is not impressive at all. Like Teddy Bridgewater is more a dink and dunk guy. Like they do have 2 pretty solid running backs, but man, they dropped 30 points, man. that game wasn't even watchable, man. That game wasn't even watchable. But I got to shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars because they pulled off an upset. Like, first of all, the Buffalo Bills, they have an elite offense. Like, outside of the Steelers game where they dropped the dud, man, they were dropping 30, 40 points a week on bad teams. You see Jacksonville Jaguars, this is a team like, when they got their first win, they were celebrating like the Super Bowl, man, because they did not want to go over, man, because that team was going through everything. But they dropped 9 points and got it done against an elite offense. And Josh Allen was the MVP conversation. Man, you got to drop more than 6 points against this Jacksonville. That is embarrassing, man. And who would have predicted that? Like, 9-6, first of all, the scoring wise, that's just hard to do. Holding a team to 6 points, no tutties, only field. Like, come on now. Embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Jacksonville Jaguars, man. Like, come on. Jacksonville Jaguars. They're without their best RB. Like, this is without James Robinson.
They didn't do much on offense.
Like Carlos Hyde was just running the ball 21 times for 67 yards, just grinding the ball. Like, Trevor Lawrence didn't even have a good game at all. Yeah. Obviously, he had no tutties, and they were able to get it done with defense, which is pretty surprising because I think the Jags are pretty mediocre on defense. They're a pretty mediocre offense and defensive team, but they got it done against the Buffalo Bills 5-3. This is massive because them and the Patriots, my sleeper pick. Oh, they're fighting right now, man.
They're fighting, man. 2 weeks ago, I threw 5 on the Patriots to win the division, man. 5 to win.
Oh, you did?
Small bet, but hey.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. Like, Bill Belichick, what they're doing right now, they're whooping. Like even when the Patriots lose, it's like one possession losses. Obviously, that epic game against Tom Brady. Like, they have had all these heartbreaking losses, but now they're racking up some wins, right? So the Buffalo Bills, man, losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, like, man, my God, it's your like playoff seeding. So this is a massive loss.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Josh Allen of the Jaguars was the better of the Joshes that week. I know Scott Hansen
had the better week.
Scott Hansen had that stat ready to go and pull out there in red zone, and he had a blast. But look, man, he had an interception, forced a fumble, and he sacked them. I mean, that defensive performance was ridiculous. So shout out Jacksonville. Urban Meyer looked like so surprised that his team was able to pull it off, but that was a game of field position. If you had better field position and your kicker was on, you were going to win that game. So, I mean, it was a really boring game to watch, but hey, man, Jacksonville, they're not even in that 1-win category anymore. So they might want a better draft pick, but hey, man, they'll take a win in the short run for those high emotions.
Yeah, I definitely think New England is kind of getting on this track with their defense also as well. I think because that's Bill Belichick's calling card. So I feel like he's going to get that. He's always going to have that side of the ball competing at least. And Mac Jones is getting a little bit more comfortable. Kind of always seems with the Patriots, whoever they put at running back is going to produce and get them what they need to get done. So they are a team to watch. I didn't even think about that with Buffalo losing to Jacksonville. That could make the division race even more interesting. Because I don't think Miami's going to be a factor with Tua being injured and, just different factors in that division could be something to look for down the stretch. One team, even though it's been a lot of teams that had upsets, I wanted to kind of see what Jordan Love was going to do this week or this past week. I kind of felt like it was set up for him on a silver platter just because it was the Chiefs defense, and I thought he was going to at least have a lot of good empty calories to make it seem like
Jordan Love was going to perform.
With Devontae back, yeah, I thought he could do it against the worst defense in the league. Sorry.
No.
I was
telling you, man. Drafting Jordan Love was one of the biggest mistakes in Packers history.
Well, they did that to piss Aaron off. I don't know if they did that.
No, they did that because they believed that he was going to be the replacement, the franchise quarterback for the next decade post Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And obviously, the answer is no. Jordan Love is ass, man. He's garbage. What more can you ask for?
First game, Zoo.
Like, he's not. Stop it. He got a wide receiver one back. He got all his weapons back. He's playing against the worst defense in football right now. It was laid up just for him. And what do? He got 7 points. That is embarrassing, man. This is a team in the Kansas City defense that allowed 30, 40 points to everybody right now. But Jordan Love made Kansas City defense look like the 1985 Bears, man. It's embarrassing. And you know what Aaron Rodgers would have done? A butt whooping. Because he wouldn't have missed Devontae Adams for open touchdowns, man. He throwing it out of bounds, man.
Wasn't he partially calling the game for him?
Man, he got to execute. He got to execute the throws, man. You see him throwing at Devontae Adams, who beats his man on the left side. He throws it out of bounds. I don't know if you remember that play. It was in the fourth quarter, man. And he's looking at him. I'm like, man, I miss Aaron. This is why I didn't sign the contract extension, man. Because I'm going to be getting Jordan Love throwing it to me, and I'm going to be averaging like 500 yards of receiving yards a year, and I'm going to look like a scrubby dubby because I got Jordan Love over here messing me on wide open tutties.
Look, that's because you're comparing Jordan Love to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and that just doesn't transition as well. There's a reason Mac Jones, he's filling some tough shoes as well up there in New England, and he's made mistakes. What do you expect Jordan Love to do on the road in one of the toughest stadiums to play?
Look at all the other backup quarterbacks. We had the backup quarterback with Cooper Rush. This dude barely ever plays Cooper Rush, and you know what happened? You know what happened? He performed and got the W, man. And he threw some nice.
So you saying Cooper Rush is going to be better than Jordan Love? I want you on record.
I'm just saying. Look what happens when I'm just saying. Look what happened when Dak Prescott gets injured. The backup comes in and he shows up and gets the W. Kyler Murray, who is an MVP candidate, boom, he gets injured. This dude comes in, not even fully loaded, man. He didn't have all his wide receiver. His best wide receiver is Christian Kirk, man, and they were able to get it done. So I'm just saying, backup QBs coming in and proving themselves while Jordan Love laying an egg.
I mean, dude, they only gave Aaron Jones 12 carries. That's bad play calling. You're putting way too much pressure on Jordan Love.
No, AJ Dillon got a bunch of carries, man.
Okay, he had 8 carries, so there's 20 carries between them. They had 99 yards rushing. They were running the ball well, 5 yards a carry. Even Jordan Love had 5 rushes for 23 yards. That's solid. They did not. You can't expect him to jump in, them know exactly the plays that they need to call for him to be successful. That's just not. I wouldn't expect him to do it.
He got 7 points. That's 7 points.
It's not just on him. I mean, that partially it's on the play calling.
He missed a lot of throws, man.
Yes, of course. And I would expect that out of a guy who's been sitting on the bench for 3 years at this point. I mean, that's just who he is. He's not Aaron Rodgers. It'll take time.
I'm not asking him to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm asking him to be a competent backup like all the other QBs who got injured,
Never played. Cooper Rush is the only one. That's the only. Colt McCoy's played enough in his career. He's been around for 12 years.
He's a veteran.
Cooper Rush is the only one. And
he's a mediocre veteran, man.
He was an anomaly, man. I would expect Cooper Rush to come into Arrowhead, and he would have done the same exact thing. So, I don't know.
And it was on the road.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be a scrub. But I mean, he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers if you ask me.
I'm telling you. He won't be. Aaron Rodgers leaves this franchise, man. They're going to poo-poo land, man.
Of course.
Going for 2 to 3 wins, man. I'm telling you right now. They're unwatchable, man. I love watching the Packers. When Aaron Rodgers doesn't play football, I can't watch him play because it's so embarrassing to football, man.
Aaron Rodgers
welcome to being a Bears fan. That's all I can say, man. I mean, if you don't have a quarterback to throw the ball, it's ridiculous and horrible to watch. So I understand where you're coming from. Trust me.
Unwatchable, man. He better come back against.
And it real gets scary real quick if Devontae ends up if Aaron ends up leaving next year and Devontae doesn't come back. Then
he ain't coming back. Man.
It would get weird for the Packers very fast.
Bye Aaron Jones fantasy value, man. That
you know what would be hilarious? You know what would be hilarious? This will be as soon as Aaron leaves, I could totally see the Packers for the next 3 years just drafting receivers in the first round. Because if you ever think about it, they never draft really good skill guys in the first round. It's always defense and offensive linemen. So I could see them totally switching it up and drafting a bunch of first round receivers and stuff like that for Jordan because he's gonna need it if Aaron and Devontae end up leaving. Let's hope to say at least one of those people stay. But
man, that division gonna suck without the Packers.
The Bears time, dude.
The Bears time.
Plus, I didn't even think about this. That's a lot of pressure on Love because I just thought about Favre and Rodgers. Those are 2 bona fide Hall of Famers. The chances of him being that is not high. So he kind of has to have that pedestal of being the next Packers quarterback, and he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be Aaron. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that could be Aaron. So I mean, the Packers are a tough watch. I mean, and their defense did their job. So yeah, he kind of. I wouldn't say he crapped the bed, but he didn't do well. He didn't do well in his
the Chiefs.
And he's got.
I'd honestly put more on the
Chiefs look like ass.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on with the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Yeah. This is an offense. They're struggling to get 21 points, man.
And
Kansas City, they have all the weapons. They improved the O-line. You still got Mahomes. No significant injuries to any of the offensive skill position players outside of CEH. But Darrell Williams is doing the job as running back. So I'm just what is going on with the Chiefs? I don't know if it's the play calling, Andy Reid, like people figuring out his offense because his creativity the last 3 years, especially in the red zone, it's beautiful to watch. And I don't know what happened with the creativity and getting it done on the offensive end, but dang, the Kansas City Chiefs went from being
I don't. You know what I think? I don't know if they've figured out Kelsey as much because I feel like what makes their offense go is the middle of the field with Kelsey running his, inside the, different types of routes that he does. I do think they figured out Tyreek to an extent, and it's kind of made them one-dimensional with how they're able to, I guess, Mahomes to go through his progressions. But it also speaks to the fact that even though before they didn't have a running game, they still had a decent enough running game to be respected. I feel like nobody respects their running game. So they're playing these different types of coverages. And Mahomes, now he has had a lot of, I guess, weird interception luck, but he hasn't looked the same as he normally does when he's throwing throwing his passes. So I don't know if it's more so if Mahomes is having a regression, because I don't think it's that. I just think defenses are playing them differently. And I also think there's a thing to respecting the game. I think a lot of defensive coordinators saw Mahomes doing those no-look passes and doing all these type of tricks and stuff with the football. That pisses off the NFL defenses. So if they're going to figure it out, they're going to try to make them pay. And it's up for Mahomes and them to adjust, because I don't think right now they're in the playoffs. I don't think so.
No, they're not.
They're last, man.
Yeah.
So not the last. So.
Broncos are ahead of them.
Which is
embarrassing. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry. That's embarrassing.
Bridgewater, yes.
That's embarrassing. He was injured too, man. He was injured. So they were without their starting quarterback for a couple of games, and they're embarrassing. So embarrassing.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is definitely having more of he's thinking, I feel like this time around. The NFL will humble a lot of players, so maybe he's just got to get into a space where he gets his head right and they can make a little run. But it's going to be hard in the AFC because it's not like it's just a cakewalk in that division. So,
no.
I kind of wanted to get the guys' opinion on this next topic with just their overall feelings of different divisions. I mean, we don't have to go through all of them, but just, some divisions that you think are in the bag for some teams and, certain divisions that may be a fight to the bitter end. And, Zoo, I'm going to go with you on this one, man. What do you think about these divisions?
Man, the AFC North, man, I can't figure out any of these teams, man. Especially the Cincinnati Bengals, like losing to the Jets. Like, come on, man. First you lose to the Jets, and then you play the Cleveland Browns, and it's not even a football game, man.
No.
Like with all the drama with Odell, obviously with him getting cut, like all that thing going around, and they whooped them. It wasn't even a real game, man. Like the defense dominated, man. Joe Burrows threw picks, man. Like he had one of his worst games I've seen him as a professional.
Got crossed up too on that pick six.
Yeah, man. I'm just like, holy cow. Like this Cleveland Browns defense, I forget how good it is, but like Cincinnati, man, when their offense is cooking, it looks like one of the best offenses in football. But these last couple of games, I'm just like, what is going on with Cincinnati? And like, obviously, with like I picked the Ravens to win this division because like I believe that Lamar Jackson was going to have like an MVP caliber season, and that he's been doing that. But it's going to be close, actually. Like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, like
Pittsburgh's back in line.
They're all like, I would say they're all like Ravens, like one tier above, but the second place team, I feel like they're on the same tier. Like it's pretty hard to separate them. Like they're both not elite at offense and defense. So I'm just like, man, that division, it's a coin flip for who's going to make it in, man. So
especially
potential playoff wild card.
Especially for who they put up. Yeah, I was going to say, Zoo, especially for who goes up on that wild card, because that one's definitely going to churn one out. That one, and I think, obviously, I think the AFC West will end up having a wild card as well. Those are the two divisions that are pretty much almost identical, outside of the AFC West not having a 6-2 team. I still think the Chiefs will pull through, and I think the Chargers will hang around because they have been in pretty much every game that they've played. Eckler did have a pretty slow game against the Eagles this past week, but there's some daunting other teams. I think the Broncos can wreak havoc. I think they can just with their defense alone. Not saying they'll win the division, but they could force the Chiefs into another tough game that could, put them in the second spot instead of, leading the division. So the AFC West and Zoo agreed completely. AFC North, really tough to tell. I do think that, the three teams across those two divisions that I think will drop off are the Bengals, the Raiders, and the Broncos. I think we can all agree they'll probably fiddle away a bit towards the end of the season. But Zoo, I know we skipped over this real quick, but I do have to shout out another upset with the Titans winning this past week.
Yeah, that was
taking a massive lead
Wow.
Without Derrick Henry,
Wow.
defensive performance, they made Stafford look like
They lost to the Jets, man. Any team that loses to the Jets, I lose respect for. For them pulling off this upset against the Rams, like what?
And they look good, man. They look pretty damn good. They have two solid weapons. Julio Jones made some nice catches, AJ Brown as well. But Tannehill was just moving the ball around, man. He made that one mistake, but had a rushing touchdown. He's just kind of a consistent guy. So, if you're looking at the AFC playoff picture, the Titans are kind of solidifying themselves as I think they're the number 1 seed right now.
7-2.
And Zoo, I gotta say, man, that was my Super Bowl pick to face off with the Rams this year, man. So they're looking solid without King Henry.
They're gonna get it done without King Henry.
They can't. There's no way they could. But that is another team I do want to keep watching because the Colts could creep, and they have a hell of an offense now in Indy. So I think that they might creep up on the Titans. We'll see. But I am still mainly watching that AFC West, AFC North, and then that Bills Patriots race. So, Sean, what do you think about that one? The Bills Patriots.
I still believe in Josh Allen because I just think he's the more superior quarterback. But with the Patriots, man, I just feel like Bill's still there. So when it comes to defense, you just know how he likes to scheme stuff up. And you never want to count them out. And now that with Mac, he's starting to look more comfortable, I could see the Patriots just ripping off the division, barely escaping and winning that division. Now, if you're asking me who I would pick, I'd pick the Bills, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots did it because it's just what they first off, they have the confidence of, even though Tom left and they had a down year last year, they still feel like this is our division. Like we've been running it for years and years, even though it was with Tom, they'd have that confidence like, okay, the Bills did what they did last year. That's cute. Let's see if you can continue to do this year in and year out. So I feel like with the Patriots, they have that going for them. It's just that Bills game, you just always want to think maybe, teams from up north going down to Jacksonville, and it's just weather. I don't know. You may think it's just a fluke. That's what I'm counting on what happened with the Bills. Like, I honestly feel a little bit more alarmed with Dallas just because I feel like their defense is more fool's gold because they had a lot of turnovers in those first couple of games. Like Trevon Diggs with all these pick sixes and getting all these picks. Like, you can't replicate that. So when the defense is not getting turnovers, you see what happened. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Dak looked kind of, slow and he was injury and all that stuff. Like, he one thing Dak is good at is putting up those garbage numbers at the end to make the score look better. Him and Jalen Hurts are competing for the garbage time like numbers. Man. Like they are so good at that. Like keeping that in mind for fantasy for next year. Those are the two quarterbacks I go after. But like Dak, I just want to say maybe it's his first game since the Cavs, so I'm not going to put much on that. But Dallas, I just think we're going to see now with the division, they're not going to lose the games in the division. But in terms of if we just want to extend out to the playoffs, I don't know if I can see them doing anything in the playoffs because I don't think the defense is as good. And if that defense isn't creating turnovers where it's like a snowball effect, soon they get a turnover, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then you just can't catch up. I don't think that can be something they can replicate. So I think with the Bills and Patriots, going back to them, I think the Bills still has the, birthright in that division as of right now, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting because I don't think anybody else in that division is going to challenge to do anything. So, and I like to go with the best, whoever has the best quarterback, and I think that is still Josh Allen, even though he had a stinker last week. So,
another team I'm kind of watching right now, especially with just the situation in New Orleans, is the Falcons. I mean, I know just looking at the NFC playoff picture, the NFC East really most likely is not going to produce a wild card team. Same thing with the NFC North. You're looking at probably either the Rams or Cardinals will get one of the NFC wild card spots. And you kind of come down to the NFC South and you see the Saints are 5-3 and the Falcons are 4-4. Panthers are hanging around, but Darnold is not looking good. I don't even know if we need to say much more there. His coach let him know post press conference, man.
And they say they don't want to trade for Deshaun Watson. They're freaking insane. Like I would give up every. Let me ask you right now. I just thought of it. Just a quick little sidebar. Would you trade any draft package, capital, and Christian McCaffrey for Watson?
Ooh, yeah.
Because I'm saying I would at this point. Because Darnold's not the answer, bro. And McCaffrey's always hurt.
Exactly. It's like moving McCaffrey off your fantasy team, right, Zoo? You just causing too many injuries.
Yeah, dumping him has been such a relieving feeling.
That was a blessing.
It was a blessing. I have a dude that actually plays for my team, man. Shout out to Joe Mixon.
Yeah, it was good to see McCaffrey. He did get 100 yards from scrimmage, which he'll always get his.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, he gets his yards.
But with Sam Darnold, man, it's going to be tough. So, I mean, I would do that trade probably, Sean, but I'd have to have assurances that he's going to be able to play at some point.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I would
has
just
to be in
keep
the contract.
McCaffrey. Yeah, it has to be in the contract that there's going to be no further legal, like unless unless obviously something else comes up, and rightfully so, he gets prosecuted. But it's a tough call. You're giving up a franchise player for a franchise player, different positions. So you're taking one step down, but one step up in another way. Obviously, with Sam Darnold at the helm. So I don't know, that NFC North in general for me. I'm kind of curious because the Falcons, I think, almost might be not better without Calvin Ridley, but it's not as much.
They spread the ball.
They spread the ball around. We saw Zacchaeus, Russell Gage getting involved. Kyle Pitts made a couple drops, but he still had a couple catches. And Cordero Patterson is just easily he's easily the best pickup of the year. I think everybody can agree with that. Outside
him or Cup,
injury handcuffs.
Yeah.
But most people didn't even draft Cordero Patterson. So
no, I don't think
they were drafting Mike Davis over him. So I'm interested to see how they do, because that was a big divisional win on the road in New Orleans with a team that seems to be trending downwards a bit with Simeon at the helm. So that's another division.
That run by Cordero, man, to get that Tony. What an athlete, man!
Running routes too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, he's like a Swiss Army knife for this team, man.
And you know what? And the Bears let him go.
Typical, sometimes man. It's just situations.
Typical Chicago, man. They didn't know how to use him.
Dude, it's pretty easy to use Cordero. You can use Cordero in a lot of places, man. He could do a little of everything in football, man.
Yeah.
He's the epitome of a receiver and a running back. He's literally split 50-50. He's not like 55-45. He's a legit receiver and running back. And I think Atlanta is because that's pretty much their offense. Like now that Calvin's out, like Pitts is still growing. He has his ups and downs. But yeah, I think Atlanta's offense does, and it makes Matt Ryan look a little bit better with him just being able to spread the ball around. So that will be interesting to see. I know they lost that first game against Tampa Bay, so I don't know how much that's going to – because I think that game was actually in Tampa, so we're going to see them in Atlanta. But I think Tampa is going to be the class of that division.
Easily.
Because it just seems – and I don't think they've even played Carolina yet, so that's going to be 2 easy dubs for the Bucs. So the NFC has kind of got a lot of their established, I guess, people at the top of their divisions. I still have faith in the Packers as long as Aaron Rodgers comes back, which I think he will after he clears protocols and stuff. So I think he's going to be one. I think it's the same song and dance with them, though, as well. We get it. You're going to win the NFC North. You're probably going to get whatever position in the playoffs. Can you get through the NFC Championship game, and can you get to the Super Bowl? Because I truly believe if the Packers actually get there, I think I don't care who they're playing, they're going to win. Because it's just going to be so much bent up. They've been so close the last couple of years of not getting to the Super Bowl that once they get there, they're going to take full advantage. So I don't think I would pick whoever they would be going against. I would actually love to see Tom and Aaron 2.0. I would love to see that because quiet as kept. Tom didn't really play good in that game, but their defense did really, really good to get them to their Super Bowl that year. So that's going to be real interesting. I don't really know any, I guess, bets on what I think the NFC Championship game would be because I just think it's all over the place. Because I kind of had a feeling of thinking, like, you know what, the Rams, this might be the year with the upgrade of Stafford, but then you see them play against the Titans. It's like, come on, bro. Like, the team was down Derrick Henry. You can't take advantage of that. Like,
not that great of a defense either.
They got names.
I think they have the worst passing defense in the league. They're up there with the Chiefs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they got Ramsey, but that's about it. I really don't think like Stafford is really an enigma because you look at him in Detroit and he was just so like you don't know if it's Detroit or if it's just him, but then you see him playing with the Rams and it's like, okay, he looks like he's a better player because he has better players around him. But then it's like I'm big on like, okay, what have you done in big games? And until I see Stafford with my own two eyes do it, it's hard for me to take the Rams seriously.
Well, he's never been in a playoff game, right? So we've never even seen him on a big game.
I don't think. I mean, I guess you can call big games is against Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how he's done in those games, but
taking a lot of L's, man.
So it's going to be interesting in both divisions. I don't think there's any clear cut team right now. It's like, they're going to the Super Bowl, which is great for the league because there's a lot of parity, which I like. I mean, Arizona, Kyler, I think is going to be coming back. I don't know how effective because that is a pretty good win they had, but it's just you don't know. It's just like you said, this part of the season is always about injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see your depth in terms of how you drafted is going to really show up in the players that you have behind on defense and offense is going to be the telltale sign of who's going to make it to the play or make it to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of content we have with the NFL. We're getting into the nitty gritty of it. Shout out to college basketball started tonight. Actually, 2 or 4 huge teams: Michigan State, Kansas, Kentucky, and Duke are going to be the teams that are competing tonight. You know, college basketball, they're going to have their stars. On this show, we talk it somewhat a little bit, but it's more of a March Madness thing. You know, maybe if some players come up draft-wise that some guys you guys are watching and we'll talk about. I know this guy from Gonzaga that's like 7'1", 185 pounds, but he looks like KD. It's kind of crazy. He looks wild now. Yeah. He's like literally 185 pounds. It's crazy. Like his thighs and his arms are like the same size. It's wild. Like I've never seen that in a player. Maybe KD look like that coming out, but we'll maybe talking a little bit of.
Yeah, it's Porzingis, man. It's Porzingis again.
He's got a little bit more wiggle than Porzingis, but see, I hate the guys now. It's almost like I know I love the big guys that are tall and lanky and can dribble and do all that stuff, but I feel like as they get older, they start like because I feel like guys that big are not supposed to be dribbling through their legs. They're just not built to do that. It's like their body can't handle all that movement being that big. So hopefully those type of players are guys that can last longer in the NBA. Because Porzingis is a telltale sign because he's completely fell off the map. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of Mavericks games this year, but
12 points a game.
God. He was like the toast of the town in New York City. And it went from that to like relegated to 12 points in Dallas. That is crazy. Yeah, you got paid. It was a wrap.
A max, man. What a waste of money.
Yeah.
I know Luka has to be like, yo, is there any way you can move off his contract? Just give me a freaking bench shooter. I don't care. Give me Kobe White. We're good. We'll be good.
Yeah.
Just give me Kobe White. We'll just get
that
somebody
trade.
to score. Yeah. It's like, shoot, give somebody else that can make shots off the bench. But like I say, it's still early in the NBA season. You know, we're just going to be up ebbs and flows of that. We're going to get more into that as the NFL season starts winding into playoffs and things like that. College basketball, like I said, is going to be up and down. You know, November college basketball is not anything, you know, except for they have a couple of tournaments that people do. We'll be talking about that. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to our bullheaded_pod page on Instagram. Make sure you give us 5 stars on all the iTunes, all the Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, the whole 9. And for me, Zoo and P. Bush, we're out.